Hello everyone, good morning. So today we are just going to learn the concept of parallel plate capacitor and we'll calculate the capacitance also. Then we'll just understand the concept of cylindrical capacitor and finally the spherical capacitor. One concept actually I didn't have taught you because I wanted that the parallel plate capacitor should be completed at first, then the cylindrical one, then I can give you the concept of a spherical capacitor. It is actually a second case. There are actually two shells are present, the inside one and the outside one. I will give you the case, don't worry. So now we are just starting the parallel plate capacitor. Okay, parallel plate capacitor. Now, whatever the question I have just given in the group, solve them and send me the answers. The questions are really so much of conceptual, you can say. So, in the parallel plate capacitor, what we know that capacitor is an energy storing device. It can store the electrostatic potential energy inside of it. So, if I just make the diagram of a parallel plate capacitor, so this is one of the plate and it is positively charged. I have just given the positive charge to this conducting plate. And there is another plate, but initially the plate is connected with the ground. That means via the earth where it is connected with the ground. So what will happen? As I have given the positive charge to the inside portion of the one of the conducting plates, so obviously it will induce the opposite charge in this portion of other plate. So the negative charges will be induced in this phase, and in the opposite phase again the positive charge will be induced. Why it is happening? Now at the beginning of the chapter of electric field and charges, I have just told you that what are the properties of charges and how can a body be charged. A body can be charged by the friction, by charging by friction. Second one is charging by conduction. The last one is charging by induction. In this case, the plates are not in contact with each other. So one plate is positively charged. It will try to attract all of the negatively charged particles. So that's why in the front face of another plate, there is having the negative charges and it will try to repel the same charges. That's why I'm getting the positive charges on the outer surface of other plate. But in this case, I have just connected that plate with the ground. That means the outer surface is connected with the ground. So all the positive charges on the outer surface will be neutralized because the positive charges cannot flow through the earthware. But through the ground, the electrons can come and it can neutralize the outer surface positively charged ions. So finally what I will get? Finally the diagram will looks like this is actually the positively charged conducting plate and this will be the negatively charged conducting plate. All the positive charges on its outer surface is neutralized, so till the earthing is present. Now inside of the capacitor I am just using a dielectric material. Okay, I am using a dielectric material. So whenever I'm talking about a dielectric material, I just remember about dielectric constant. Dielectric constant is actually represented by K. K for dielectric constant. You have learned in the portion of Coulomb's law. So K is known as dielectric constant. It is actually equals to the ratio of the permittivity of that particular medium divided by the permittivity of free space. Okay. Now permittivity of a medium, what I mean by that? Permittivity, that means it's a one type of permission. That means it depends on the property of the medium, how much electric field lines can be passed through that particular medium. If it is allowing more number of electric field lines, so obviously the di So obviously the permittivity of that particular medium is less, because the permittivity and the electric field lines, they are having inverse relation. If the permittivity is greater, less electric field lines will pass. If the permittivity is less, then more electric field lines will be passed through that particular medium. And we assume that the permittivity of air or vacuum, you can say, it is greater, or you can say greatest, that is of 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12 coulomb square by Newton meter square. It is the, in this case you can say that through the air maximum number of electric field lines can pass. That's why I assume that epsilon naught is less, but whenever the free space exists between the two charged particles, the force of attraction or repulsion will be more. Okay. Now, if I use the permittivity as, if I use the medium as water, then what will be the permittivity of water? This is approximately 7.23, we can say, into multiplied by 10 to the power minus 10 coulomb square by Newton meter square. So whenever between the two charged particles, this is my Q1, this is my Q2, whenever between them the material present, that is as water, so in that case the force of attraction will be less. Okay. If I can say that whenever the charged particles are placed in a free space, the force of attraction was F. So whenever they are present inside of water, the force of attraction, that is of F dash, that is less than of F. One small example I have taken like this, and thus you can understand the effect of the permittivity on the force of attraction or on the electric field. In this case, we are assuming that inside the capacitor we are using a medium which is having the permittivity as E, epsilon. So inside the capacitor, what will be the value of the electric field due to the positive charges and due to the negative charges? Remember Gauss theorem? Now there was the application of Gauss theorem. There you have studied that due to a line charge, what will be the value of electric field? So for the positive charge, the electric field should obviously in this direction, right? So we can say this is of the electric field, that is of E plus. For the negative charge, the electric field will be in the same direction and it will be E minus. One more thing, how much charge I have given to the positively charged plate? We have to assume that one because it will not be given in the question. And we are assuming that we have given a charge of Q plus Q. So obviously in the opposite plate, the charge induced, that is of minus Q. In the positively charged plate, in the previous class I have described that it should have some surface charge density, right? That is charge per unit area. So for a positively charged plate, the surface charge density will be plus sigma. For a negatively charged plate, it will be of minus sigma. So we have to calculate the electric field inside the capacitor. So electric field inside the capacitor will be how much? That is the total electric field E. It is equals to the electric field due to the plus charge plus of electric field due to the minus charge. Electric field due to the plus charge, I hope you have forgot. So that's why I'm just helping you to remember. For a positively charged plate or for a negatively charged plate, the value of electric field at some particular distance, that is of sigma divided by twice of epsilon. Epsilon is the permittivity of the medium. This is not the air or vacuum. Remember that. For the negatively charged plate, whatever the electric field I am getting, that is of sigma divided by twice of epsilon. Same. That's why we are adding, no? If they have opposite direction, why should I add them? So whenever I'm just adding them, I'm getting the final value of electric field as sigma by epsilon, right? Now, there was a relation between the electric potential and the electric field. So the electric potential V is equals to the electric field multiplied by the separated distance between the charges. A whole lot of messages are coming. Wait, let me just silence my phone. It's disturbing in my class. Oh, yeah. So we can say that the electric potential, it is equals to electric field multiplied by the separated distance, we'll assume as d. That means the separated distance between these two plates we are assuming as d, small d. So what is the value of electric field here? That is of sigma by of epsilon. It should be multiplied d. So this is the value of electric potential. Okay. Now, actually we have to find out the capacitance of this parallel plate capacitor. Parallel plate capacitor is one of the most very important concept. That's why I'm just covering that one, and in a different way. Actually I don't have a book, so I'm just following my method, and actually I need the exercise photos, okay, for the capacitor. If you can send me the photos of the exercise, then it will be more better. Otherwise I don't have the book now, so I'm not able to get the exercise questions of this chapter. Now we have found the electric potential as sigma d by of epsilon. Now what is the relation between the capacitance of a capacitor and the potential of that? Do you remember that expression? Just moving in the next slide. That we know that a C is equals to Q by a V. Q is the charge given to the capacitor. Whenever you are charging a capacitor, the potential of the capacitor is rising. So that's why capacitance is equals to the ratio of charge given to the capacitor divided by the potential increase, or you can say increase in potential. So it is equals to Q divided by of V. What is the value of V we have obtained? That is of sigma by of epsilon multiplied by a small d. So whenever we'll just simplify, that is of Q into small e divided by of sigma multiplied by of d. What is sigma? Sigma is the surface charge density. It is equals to the charge present per unit area, right? So I'm just going to substitute the value. So what I will get, that is of Q multiplied by of epsilon divided by Q by of A multiplied by of D. So the Q is getting cancelled out. So I'm getting epsilon A divided by of D. Now in this concept, we are covering two concepts. One concept, that whenever the dielectric medium present between the two plates, that is equals to air. So in that case I can make you understand what will be the expression, and if any other dielectric medium present, then in that case also I can make you understand. Now what the expression we have obtained of a relative permittivity, that relative permittivity epsilon r is equals to the dielectric constant, and it is equals to the permittivity of the medium divided by the permittivity of free space. So if I multiply epsilon equals to epsilon naught multiplied by epsilon r, okay, so let me substitute the value. Oh, only one ink I am using for the total case. No, let me use some different. Yeah, this one. Where is the cursor? Yeah, there's one. So it is epsilon naught multiplied by epsilon r. It is multiplied by a divided by of d. Now remember, for air or vacuum, what you can say, that epsilon r relative permittivity becomes 1, and I am getting epsilon naught a by of d. This is actually the expression for capacitance whenever the dielectric medium is air or vacuum. But if there is any other medium, so in that case you will use the above expression, this one. Okay, it can be any other medium, it can be a oil, it can be anything, it can be water as well, depends on that. For different purposes the dielectric medium is different. So whether this concept is clear, it is understandable, is there any doubt, any question you have? If I am moving with some speed, that means if I am talking so much fast, you can tell me also, I will just slow down. Or if I am moving very much slow, I will move very fast also. Okay. So now we are just moving to the next concept. So everyone, the next concept is about a cylindrical capacitor. Sometimes I see the questions from cylindrical capacitor. That's why I'm just giving you the lesson. Now, cylindrical capacitor. For cylindrical capacitor, what we can say, that obviously it will look like a cylinder. So I'm just making my bad diagram. So this is our cylinder. This is the outer cylinder, okay? And there is an inner cylinder as well. Just drawing the inner cylinder with this ink to be more good. There is an inner cylinder that in the shape of like that. Okay. So in this case, what we have done, we have just given a charge. Now you can say that from for both of the cylinders there is a common line. Let me just draw the line. Oh, just move to the next slide. Wait, I'm just drawing a common line. It will be more easy for you to understand this one. So there is a common line that is passing through the middle portion actually. Okay. Actually, this line is used for the measurement of the radius of the base of the cylinder. That's why I have just drawn this line. Now, what you can say, I have given a charge of a plus Q to the inner cylinder. Now, this is my inner cylinder. So, I have just given a charge of plus Q on its surface. So, on its surface, there is plus Q is there. Okay. On both of the surfaces, I have just given the same charge. Okay. Actually, it is a complete cylinder. Now, if I can show you the 3D diagram of a cylinder, it's a complete cylinder. So whenever I am just giving the charge of plus Q, so it is uniformly distributed over the surface, the curved surface I am talking about. Now, so obviously we can say that the outer cylinder, or you can say the outer surface of the cylinder, is having the ground connection. So whenever the inner cylinder is having the charge of plus Q, so obviously it will try to induce the opposite charge on the inner surface of outer cylinder. So in this surface it will try to induce the opposite charge, right? On both of the cases it will try to induce the opposite charge. And what we can say, that on the outer surface of outer cylinder it will try to induce the same charge, right? What is the reason? That I have already told you, that the opposite charge particles attract each other. So whenever I have just given the positive charge to the inner cylinder, it is trying to attract the electrons present in the inner surface of the outer cylinder. So that's why the inner surface is negatively charged, because it is attracted by the positive charges of the inner cylinder, and the same charges are being repelled. So that's why in the outer surface of the outer cylinder, the positive charges are present. Be careful whenever you are listening this lecture. Inner cylinder and outer cylinder, don't get confused. In the inner cylinder, on all over the area of the curved surface, positive charge is present. But for the outer cylinder, in the inner surface of that, negative charge is present, because the charges are attracted by the inner cylinder, and on the outer surface positive charges are present because they are repelled by the inner cylinder. Now, as I have told you, that the outer surface is having the ground connection or earth connection is there. It is being connected to the ground via the earth wire. So obviously the charges that is present on the outer surface of the outer cylinder, it will be neutralized. And finally, what we can say, I don't have to draw the diagram again. I have an eraser. I can erase all of the charges that is present over here. Yeah, let me erase all of the charges. So all of the charges will get neutralized. As you are seeing that they are being neutralized. Okay. So what we'll just do, at first we need a mathematical expression to calculate the capacitance of this cylindrical capacitor. Okay. So in this case, we'll assume that with respect to this line, the radius of the inner cylinder, is R1 and the radius of the outer cylinder, that is of R2. Okay. Now, for the case of cylinder, if it is having a charged surface, now you know that how to calculate the electric field for the case of cylindrical surface. Remember the applications of Gauss theorem. There you have studied that the electric field for a cylindrical surface is equals to lambda divided by 2 pi epsilon naught multiplied by the radius. In this case, we are taking the radius as small r, as it is the general expression, you can say. So actually I need that how much energy can be stored by this kind of capacitor, cylindrical capacitor. So here lambda is actually the linear charge density or the line charge density. So lambda is equals to charge present per unit length. So I can say it will be how much? It will be Q divided by of 2 pi epsilon naught R multiplied by of L, right? So what is the potential difference between the two plates? We have to study that one. Now to find out the potential difference, we'll just multiply a smaller component of the radius. That means we know the relation that electric potential, it is equals to the electric field multiplied by the distance present between the charges. As the charges are separated very small distance, so we'll just assume it is equals to Q by of 2 pi epsilon naught multiplied by R multiplied by L, and the small distance we are assuming as dr. Okay, and in this case we'll assume the potential as dV. For smaller distance, the smaller potential difference, you can say. Now in this case, I'll just integrate on both of the sides and I will take the limits. We'll proceed with the definite integral. So in the extreme left hand side, what are the limits that I will take? That is equals to from 0 to V. And in the right hand side, the limit will be from the radius R1 to the radius R2. Now guys, my handwriting is so bad. I hope you are able to understand. Let me just try with a different ink. Now what we know, the integration of dV, that is equals to V, and the limits will be unchanged from 0 to V. In this case, Q divided by of 2 pi epsilon naught multiplied by of L, that remains unchanged. And integration from R1 to R2, the limits will be unchanged here, and it is of dr upon R. Now I just don't know that whether I have told you the formula to calculate this integration or not, because there is a formula for this type of integration, that integration of dx by x, that is equals to log of mod x. Okay, so in this case also I will just write down that a Q by of 2 pi epsilon naught multiplied by of L, it should be multiplied with dr upon r, that is equals to log of mod r, and the limits will be from r1 to r2, right? So now we are just going to substitute the upper limit at first, then we'll substitute the lower limit. Till that time we should perform the limit substitution. In the left hand side, if I substitute the upper limit, I will get the potential as V, right? Now I'm just moving to the next page. V is equals to Q by 2 pi epsilon naught multiplied by of L, and it is having the value of log of mod R, that is of from R1 to R2. So in this case, if I just substitute the value of upper limit and the lower limit, then it will be log of mod R2 minus log of mod R1. Okay, log is having the formula in mathematics. I know that you guys know that one, that a log of m minus log of n, it is equals to log of m by n. If the base is same, so obviously I can write down the expression in this way. So according to that, the final expression will be Q by 2 pi epsilon naught multiplied by L, it is of log of mod of R2 minus log of mod of R1. It should be log of R2 divided by of R1, and the mod will be present in the total. Okay, so this is the final expression for the potential difference between the two plates, and now we have to study the capacitance. The capacitance C is equals to Q by of V. So I have to substitute the value of the potential here. So Q divided by Q by 2 pi epsilon naught multiplied by L, and it should be multiplied by log R2 by of R1, and the mod is present over here. In this case, the Q will get cancelled out, and the final expression, what I will get? The final expression should be 2 pi epsilon naught multiplied by of L divided by of log of R2 divided by R1, and it is having the mod. So this is the final expression whenever we are discussing about a cylindrical plate capacitor. Now there is a twist. In this case, on whole of the derivation, I have taken the permittivity as a free space. But if any other dielectric medium is present, then the expression should be changed and it should have a relative permittivity. If any other dielectric medium is present, then the expression should be 2 pi epsilon naught multiplied by epsilon r multiplied by L divided by log of R2 by R1. Okay. Now, if in the total derivation, if you are not able to understand any single thing, you can say. Now, in this case, this relation is very much important, that electric potential equals to electric field multiplied by the distance. In this case, initially we have found the small electric potential, very small value, that is equals to the electric field multiplied by the separated distance. We have also taken small, so that I can integrate. Actually, I want to introduce the operator in this expression. Without the operator, I can't integrate, no. That's why I have done this. Practice this kind of derivations. If this comes in your exam, thus you can do that. Again, I am telling, if you are having any of the doubt, don't hesitate to ask. This is the time to clear your doubt. Okay? So just revise, be safe, keep learning. Thank you.